So there's another aspect, though. And if you're in Revelation 21, verse 1 tells us something. There's a final or sixth period. It's the place called New Jerusalem. Now, what's so fascinating is God's fixation on this spot. Jerusalem is where God told Abraham that he was going to provide a substitute. Jerusalem is where God told Moses, right out of Egypt, that Mount Moriah was where he picked for his temple. I mean, God has always had his sights on this. From the time of Abraham, from the time of Moses, and finally David bought the right spot, prepared, Solomon built it, and we go through all these periods. But God has never taken his sights off that city. And so he actually says in Revelation 21:1, I saw a new heaven and new earth. The first heaven, the first earth passed away. Verse 2, and I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven. God even names heaven after this place where he's put his name. And it's a new Jerusalem. It's a perfect city. Well, the first truth about this is, and if you want to go in Revelation 3, I want to show you something, because every one of us tonight should have Jerusalem written on our heart. And this is what it says in Revelation 3:12. And this is to the church that the Lord was rejoicing in, the church of Philadelphia. And he says, he who overcomes, that's another, John tells us that's a born-again believer. Whoever's born again, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God. And he will go out no more, and I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my God, and I will write on him my new name. Jerusalem for us is actually our address that we're addressed. When we get saved, God writes Jerusalem on us, New Jerusalem. That's our destination. That's where we're headed. And that's why I said Jerusalem is written on the hearts of every truly born-again Christian as their destination. We're addressed to our place prepared for us. And Revelation 3:12 reminds us of that. But secondly, Jerusalem is the name for the gleaming city of newness that God has prepared for us. God promised to make all things new. And it's new because the old is passing away, like we sang about this morning. The old world of sin and tears and death, and the new is coming. And that is hope from God. And that's what John sees. And that's what was the inspiration for the early church. They were always looking forward to something. And that takes us to another amazing reality, that Jerusalem is not only the first temple period and the second temple period, and a lot of history and a lot of Gentile kingdoms that have taken it. And it's not just a tribulational place that all the armies of the earth are going to mobilize. And that is such a big topic. That's what we're going to do next time. We're going to look at exactly who's coming from where on a map. And it'll be very interesting to see how much the Bible talks about places that are in the news today and people that are in the news today. But it's a place of glorious hope. And this is why, and this is where we're going to conclude tonight. Go to the book of Hebrews, wherever you are. Try and find the book of Hebrews, and look at what Hebrews says about this city to which we're going. The first thing the writer of Hebrews says in chapter 11, the great faith chapter, look at verse 10. Describing Abraham, who starts in verse 8, who, verse 9 says, dwelt in a tent. But verse 10 says, he waited for the city. See, this is Jerusalem, is the city. God has picked a city. And as a reminder of his prophetic promises, he's picked an earthly city, and he's going to have every nation on earth be fighting over it. But that city is just a reminder of the God who's building the city. And here it is in verse 10. For he waited for the city which has foundations. Yes, it does, 12 of them. And those 12 foundations are named after the 12 apostles, just like the 12 gates are named after the 12 tribes. This city is a very special city. whose builder and maker is God. Now slip down to verse 13. Talking about all the heroes of the faith, it says in Hebrews 11:13, these all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off. They were assured of them. They embraced them. They confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. You see, in the Bible times, people's treasures were not here. They looked on any wealth they had as at God's disposal. That's why the early church used to meet in homes, and when the government didn't like the church, they took the home away from the people. Would you let the church meeting in your home if you knew you were going to lose it for having the church meet there? The writer of Hebrews says that these people took joyfully the spoiling of their goods. They said, yes, the church can meet in my house, and if the Roman government comes and takes my house away from me, it belonged to the Lord anyway. He can take it. And that's because, verse 13 says, they died in faith. Their treasures weren't here. This isn't all they were living for. They didn't receive everything that they were promised, like the health, wealth, and prosperity false gospel of our day teaches. You don't get it here. It's coming. They saw the promises afar off. They were assured of them, verse 13 says. They embraced them, and they confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. So number one, Jerusalem stands for a place of hope. The place on earth is a place of conflict, and it's going to be a burdensome stone, and it is right now. I mean, do you know how many times the maps change? I mean, it hurts. Now, their latest maps of the world, they've cut out all the occupied, they call them territories, and they won't put anything down that says the Jews have any right to that. A car company. Why? Because the whole world, Jerusalem's a burdensome thing to them. But it's a place of security.